Can't you tell what we did, Agnes?
Hi, this is Ramos Reviews, the channel where I quickly express my thoughts and opinions about all types of movies. Today I'll be looking at 1974's Black Christmas, directed by Bob Clark. I watched this movie over 2 months ago and it quickly became one of my favorite horror and Christmas movies of all time, even though it didn't beat How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Taxi! That's because I'm green, isn't it?
Black Christmas is also one of the first slashers of the modern era. It even came out 4 years before Halloween. That's why I feel like it doesn't get as much recognition as it deserves. Not to mention it's a Canadian film. It obviously didn't affect the movie, but it did definitely affect how many people watched the movie. I live in the US and over in Canada it got moderate reviews and barely financial success. It's even considered to be just a cult classic, which makes sense as to why I rarely hear people talk about this movie. Luckily though, due to the great cast and the many great things I heard about from the people who watched it, I was thoroughly excited to watch it. Also, I'm a huge slasher fan. Many slasher movies are pretty average, but it's the concept of a semi-realistic killer that interests me. Plus, having killers like that make the movie feel more real, even if many movies execute it poorly. Although a slasher movie can be great, and when it is, it's always an enjoyable surprise. So once again, I don't have a clear rating system, but I do mainly base my ratings on things like how well it's made, like special effects, directing, acting, how good it's written, like the story, characters, and creativity, and how entertaining or enjoyable I found the movie to be overall. Now, if you agree with me, that's great, and if you don't, that's fine. Everyone is open to an opinion, and this is just mine. Now, let's get to the breakdown. In Black Christmas, a sorority house slowly begins to become more and more vacant due to the start of winter break. Before they leave, they begin to get random vulgar phone calls that later become increasingly threatening. Soon after that, the protagonist begins to realize that the remaining sisters are getting stalked, or even worse. Now to me, the biggest part of this movie is how realistic everything is. From the characters to the setting to the antagonists, everything feels real, which helps you worry for their already likable characters. The protagonist is Jess Bradford, who is played by Juliet herself, Olivia Hussey. Jess Bradford is an intelligent person who's very nice, caring, and vulnerable. However, when worst comes to worst, she's capable and willing to do anything to survive, making her a great final girl who you can truly root for. She also has a pretty interesting and realistic subplot. Jess is pregnant, but she doesn't want to keep it, so she informs the father, her boyfriend Peter. He's basically the secondary antagonist in this film, since he actually wants to keep it. Now, it's not wrong or bad to feel that way, but his reasons and his plans on life because of the baby are ridiculous. Peter wants to be a pianist, but he completely has an emotional breakdown during an important audition, and because of that mixed with his argument with Jess, he tries to constantly intimidate and vocally control Jess to keep the child. He's very good at being the hateable secondary antagonist that helps you think if the caller could possibly be Peter, even though the killer is named Billy. Speaking of which, the antagonist Billy is super creepy in this movie. We never truly see him, which is very dumb to do in whodunits. However, here it works because the whole concept of this character is that he's a prowler that is in the dark. And instead of us finding out at the end who he is, we instead find out who he's not, which is the ending that gives us debatably an either equal or even bigger shock than an unmasking reveal. Plus, his phone calls are truly chilling. His voice constantly changes bizarrely, giving him a very dark, unsettling presence. Not to mention the fact that his identity and exact location remain unknown to the characters throughout the entirety of the movie, who are all great, might I add. All the side characters are entertaining to watch. They all have different personalities and characteristics, making them unique and memorable. Plus, nobody is stereotypical or over the top. They all feel like real people in the real world. One character is named Mrs. Mack. She's a sorority house mother, and she's a hilarious character. She tries to make jokes behind people's backs, and she cleverly has a lot of alcohol hidden throughout the house. Not the ideal house mother, but a unique one. We also meet Jess's friends. Nice, considerate Phil, and worrisome but visibly apathetic Barb. Barb is my favorite character. She's a very chill person who makes many snarky comments. She's even the first person who stood up to Billy.
Listen, you pervert, why don't you go over to Lambakai? They could use a little of this.
Oh, why don't you go find a wall socket and stick your tongue in it? That'll give you a charge.
For the majority of the movie, she acts very calm about everything going on due to her constantly drinking. Though, there's a scene where we find out why. She's not a drunk, but instead is someone who's just trying to cope with one of her many friends being missing and possibly murdered. It shows us how much she truly cares for her friends on a personal level, even if she doesn't appear to. Something that I personally relate to very much. Plus, there's also the genuine and helpful Lieutenant Ken Fuller, who's played by the horror go officer actor John Saxon. But still, despite the characters, the premise and setting are great as well. Winter Break is a great premise to make a few characters alone. Plus, the sorority house location gives us a setting that feels very local, which in turn makes it from relatable to realistic to genuinely terrifying. Every time we see Billy, he always makes me feel uncomfortable, even giving me chills in a certain scene. Also, seeing how maniacal he sounds while being unseen makes him very threatening to watch. Plus, the way he silently kills people in memorable ways is horrifying, in a movie that is filled with victims who are just nice people trying to enjoy their break. Which, by the way, even in an actually creepy horror movie, the mix of the heartwarming characters and the snowy winter environment helps give this movie a genuine Christmas holiday feel. Those are two very different tones that managed to work perfectly together. Like legit, I honestly didn't find any huge issues with this movie. At most, you can see that Billy was at times loud enough to be potentially heard, though it's a critique that is a bit of a stretch. Now, with everything that I've said, let's see how much I truly love this movie at the rating. Black Christmas is a great holiday slasher movie with entertaining characters, a well-written plot, chilling visuals, suspenseful scenes, and an overall unsettling movie that rightfully earns itself a 10 out of 10, with recommendation to watch if you enjoyed movies like Scream, obviously Halloween, or as I said before, A Nightmare Before Christmas. Thank you for watching this Ramos review on Bob Clark's Black Christmas. If you want me to review a movie, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this review, please leave a like and subscribe. It will help me a lot and I would thoroughly appreciate it. Anyways, I'll talk to you in my next review.